alone, say that's 1 out of the 7 SENS strands, say you're successful, how much life extension would we get out of that? It does seem that mitochondrial, you know, degradation throughout your life is one of the key reasons for people age. I mean, I read every week some new research that indicates how important mitochondrial function is in the process of aging. So it would seem to be a pretty big link in the whole chain.
It does. I know Aubrey's opinion is that it's the out of all of the different SENS elements, by itself, it would have the biggest impact. If you were only to implement one of the SENS strands,
No kidding.
if assuming you could do MitoSENS efficiently, like without side effects, it would have the biggest extension capacity because it sort of underlies a lot of other diseases. I mean, Alzheimer's disease now, they think there's a major role for mitochondrial dysfunction there. The reason that your muscles get weaker as you age, a lot of that is to do with the mitochondrial DNA degrading in quality. And that affects, obviously, also, the muscle doesn't just affect your ability to exercise, but it affects your heart, skeletal muscles that are involved in blood flow.
Pretty much every.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of functions, I guess, rely on the power plant of the body, right? The power plant of the cell.
yeah, it's incredibly,
Yeah.
incredibly important. It's sort of like of all the metabolism going on in your cell, it's really sort of the central hub for most of the.
You're right.
the
Okay. Um, let's see.
but I wouldn't want to give a specific number for how much of a life extension effect it would have because the difficulty with aging is that it involves a large number of parallel processes going on at the same time, and so fixing any one individual one may not have a huge effect, but fixing them all will.
Sure. Yeah. Fixing them all. Yeah. I mean, that's what Aubrey has been talking about as well. That you know, you're not going to get a complete reversal of aging unless you fix every bit of damage, right? Unless you address all the different things of damage. With my new audio setup tonight, I see other people on my Skype are trying to contact me. So in case any audience members are hearing some beeps, it's our wonderful director, Caliban, who wants to talk about a few things with the Immortality Institute. Okay, we got another question from Age Vivo. Are mitochondrial techniques all complicated, or is there a simple model to study them? I mean, it does seem like you have to have a pretty advanced lab in order to study allotopic expression and protofection and things like that.
Yeah, well, the types of things that I'm interested are very sort of engineering oriented, like they actually going in and introducing new genes or modifying genes, that sort of thing. And that's the kind of stuff that you need a real lab to do. I mean, there are other things you can do. I mean, lifespan studies are easy to do, right? But in terms of actually what sort of things that you want to investigate with your lifespan study, MitoSENS specifically doesn't really lend itself to that.
Yeah,
Of
and
course.
that brings me to another question here, just about time frames, as far as a lot of different types of SENS research, but all kinds of research related to anti-aging therapies and age reversal. Yeah, I mean, we're just in the starting stages of MitoSENS, but then even if you find some success with either protofection or RNA induction or whatever, I can't remember what exactly you called it, but you get my picture there. Any one of these three, after, say, animal trials are proved successful, then aren't human trials going to take 5, 10 years or more down the road? Is there any way that we can speed some of these things up?
Well, I'm pretty sure that if any of this stuff actually gets to the point of feasibly extending human lifespan, that people are going to be doing this off-label.
Oh, oh, so that's kind of
Yeah.
your thought on things like even say cancer therapy. If someone came up with some sort of extract that seemed to be a 100% cure rate for all types of cancer, you'd say, well, people are just going to do it, and
Yeah,
to hell with the
definitely. I mean, there's
FDA.
already, even with the very simplistic crude sort of anti-cancer methods that we have available to us now, people are already getting quite agitated about having to wait to use experimental drugs until after long FDA approval processes. I mean, there's people that have been involved in clinical trials where they were put on an experimental drug for 6 months, and the drug worked and prevented their disease, but then due to whatever details of the way they set up the trial, they had to be taken off of it, and they died because they were taken off of a drug that was keeping them alive. And so situations like that are just ridiculous in my mind.
I would tend to think there has to be some sort of changes coming down the road in regulations like that. I always think about the liability aspect of it, and I'm thinking, if I had some debilitating disease, maybe it was related to mitochondrial malfunction, right? And here you have this RNA induction that'll bring my mitochondria back up to speed, right? And I have to wait 10 years before I can try it. I always thought that, hey, why can't I just sign a paper and say, I'm not going to sue anyone, the government, the researcher, the company, whoever. I just want this treatment. And I don't understand why that can't be, something that would be useful in society. You know what I'm saying? You know where I'm coming from there?
No, definitely, I agree totally. And I think that the only reason things aren't changing very much right now is that most of the stuff we have isn't really effective enough to justify a major movement like that. But as our medical therapies become more and more effective, it's going to become more and more obvious how these bureaucracies are really just getting in the way.
Yeah, I mean, because I read every week some sort of new nanotechnological advance for cancer treatment that'll help target chemotherapy and help target radiation every single week, except I know people who have cancer right now, and
they're not getting a hold of any of that.
They're not getting a hold of any of that, and they're still taking the old chemo that was developed 30 years ago, and they're puking and losing their hair and wasting away. And I think what takes so long for this stuff to get out of the lab? And it's a lot of regulation. I know there's
a lot of issues with intellectual property as well.
Oh, I suppose.
I know. I read a statistic in The Economist, and apparently, companies in the United States spend almost twice as much per year on litigation than they do on research and development.
Yikes! Yeah, that's an amazing statistic. Wow. Yeah, it's unfortunate for all of us out here that that has to be the case. And that brings me back to my little thought here about how to just to sign a waiver. There should be some sort of thing called the ultimate waiver, I think. And no matter what you do, no matter what you buy, no matter what treatment you do, if you sign the ultimate waiver, it's all on you. And then
that's a really good. I think that's a great political talking point there. That sounds like you could write a bill about that.
Yeah, maybe, or start a movement.
Waiver.
Yeah, I have to get a bunch of lawyers together, and we'll draw up some sort of ultimate universal waiver. And if you want to try something experimental, you just sign the ultimate universal waiver, and then the companies don't have to worry about it. We have another question. I think you might have seen it. The M-Fury project is getting going. And do you see any potential undergrad opportunities related to MitoSENS, some part of MitoSENS that could be done at whether it's literature review or actual experimentation? Are there little things? Are there groundwork? Is there a little groundwork that undergrads could be doing to help you along?
Yeah, there is some aspects of MitoSENS are just sort of technical. I mean, for instance, once we establish definitively that it's working and for one particular gene, then scaling it up to the other 13 genes is just a matter of redoing the exact same experiments in
the same method.
Well,
do the same method.
The difficulty is that a lot of as I said, it's a difficult project, and there's a lot of very specialized skills involved in doing the tests for the respiration complex functions and doing two-dimensional gels and things like that. And I know that as an undergraduate, I considered myself to probably have more lab experience than most, but I know I would not have been able to do this work then. So
Okay.
It's a very specialized, a lot of specialized skills involved. I think that there's a huge